Most people believe that working harder or somehow finding that perfect investment is what's going to truly make you wealthy. But I want to talk to you about what I think that makes you wealthy after reading hundreds of books on finance, investments, and money management, and building wealth myself into a multi-million-dollar organization over the past 20 years. Somehow in the world today, it seems like there's something mythical about wealth building or about figuring out how to manage your finances in a way that actually there's more left at the end of each and every month. But there's nothing mythical at all about finance. Math, it really doesn't care. The biggest thing that I've seen that has caused me the most success and what I've learned from all of these books is this. Find out what you value, like you personally, what matters to you, and then align yourself with those values. Sounds simple, but let's dig into this. My name is Jason Ellinger. I'm the CEO of Untitled Translations, and for the past 20 years, I've been working, investing, and building wealth, and created a multi-million-dollar net worth, scaling the business that I'm currently operating, and investing long-term. So the first lesson that I have gathered from all of these books is the power of your own values, what you want in your life, the things that you hold near and dear and true to your heart that drive you each and every day, and they're already there. That's the thing that so many people don't realize. The values that you value are already there. They're inside of you right now, and you can just tap into that strength as you get clarity on it and then align yourself with it. And that's what's so exciting about money, values, and building wealth to me, is that everybody in any walk of life can understand what they actually want. And when you align yourself with that, you can become truly wealthy. Now, if you want to just lay on the couch and be a couch potato and do nothing, well, I got news for you. This is probably not your channel, and I probably cannot help you. But if you want to truly create something valuable or a legacy of wealth for you and your family and cause yourself to be able to prosper for many, many generations, then this is the video for you. If you want to create a wealthy outcome in your life as you work through the process that it takes, the necessary steps that it takes to get there, that's what I can help you with. So the first lesson is to get to the core of your beliefs and understand how your beliefs shape your future. There's so much noise in the marketplace today. We are so distracted. The United States today is one of the heaviest, or is the heaviest marketed to population that has ever existed in the history of man. Just think about that. The most marketed to nation ever. With all of these messages going on around us, it's really, really hard to truly identify and hear what is true, the cry of our heart. Because I'm a Bible-believing Christian, in the Bible we have the saying that God speaks to people in a still small voice. You can't hear a still small voice if you're being bombarded daily with massive messages from every side. Buy this, buy that. This fuel is cheaper. No, this food is cheaper. Go to this restaurant. Go to this store and buy your clothes. Go to Ross. Go to whatever. All the stores that are available to us. And there's so much noise. I mean, you drive down the street, you see billboard after billboard after billboard, and it's like, wow, this is interesting. If you ever get the chance, go to a different country and see how many billboards there are in their country. And then come back to the United States. And there will be a stark difference. You'll be like, holy cow, we've got a lot of billboards here. But if you're always here, you don't realize that. But once you actually leave and come back, it's like, oh, wow, there's a big difference. Anyways, that just tells you how much marketing is done even while you're just driving your car to and from work. Plus, you turn on the radio, you got like 20 messages there in between all the songs you're listening to. So we are marketed to, and everyone is clamoring to get our attention. But the people who truly can create wealth are people who can drive out the noise and find out what it is they truly value. Do you really want to change your family tree forever? Do you want to send your children to college? Do you want to have wealth when you retire, like not have to retire on social insecurity because it's not very secure, especially right now? Do you want to leave a legacy to your children? Do you want to leave some money once you're left over? Wouldn't it be awesome if you could leave $1 million to your family? You could do that. If you're 25 years old, you could leave more than $1 million. Just after listening to this message, you could leave more than $1 million to your family. Well, in whatever, how many years. So if you're 25, if you live to 100 years old, if you're, 75 years, $1 million ain't going to be worth spit. Well, I don't really care about that argument. Obviously it matters, but I mean, still $1 million, it's a lot of money. Okay, maybe it will be like 7 million. I don't know what it will be, but the equivalent of $1 million today that you could leave to your kids. They could buy a freaking house. That would be awesome, right? In any case, they could buy their car debt-free, maybe at that point, depending on the value of the money. In any case, you want to be able to have something left over, and you want to be able to give something to some future generation. Do you really value those types of things? Because if you do, then I can help you. Because it takes figuring out what you want and figuring out what you desire to be real in your life and your legacy, and then aligning yourself with that process. And so the first part in this whole process is really identifying your values. What do you truly want in life? What do you really and truly want the reality to be in your current life while you live it out? And then what do you want to leave behind? All right, so many people don't realize this, but if you look on your street, count 10 houses. Out of those 10 houses, 6 to 7 out of those 10 houses, those people have debt, probably debt that they can't see their way out of. That's a really dismal scenario. And then you're like, well, the rich people don't have that problem. In the rich neighborhoods, it's like 8 to 9 out of 10 houses. You count 10 really cool looking houses, and about 8 to 9 of them are so up to their eyeballs in debt that they can't see how they're going to make it in the future. That they just, some of them just bury their heads in the sand. They just have no idea what to do. And so the first step for everyone in any walk of life, in every category, is to decide what you value. What do you value? What do you want your reality to currently to be as you work into the future? What do you want the future of you to look like? What do you want that reality to be? And then what do you want to be able to give to your children? Identify this. Write it down. Push out all the noise. Turn off the music. Sit in a room for 45 minutes and just think. Write down. What do you value? There was a study done for college students who sat down at the beginning of their college career, their first four years of college, and they did a study that if they would just sit down for 45 minutes and write down what they wanted to do, what they wanted to be, and what they hoped to accomplish by the time they were done, they had a 50% higher graduation rate than those who didn't do that. So I'm urging you, takes just less than an hour, or just put an hour into it. I mean, because this is important, right? This is truly important because it kind of determines the outcome of your life and your legacy. So let's just give 1 hour to the process of identifying what do we want our life to look like right now? What do we want our life to look like in the future, in the nearest future? And then what's the legacy that we want to leave? And once we have that, we have something that's called a set of values that help us to decide what the next step should be. Before I get into the next step, I want to talk about this really important part, because some people get distracted and discouraged because they get into it and they don't realize that it's difficult. So success is not built overnight. It is a habit throughout your lifetime of you and me aligning with our values. And that's why the very first step is to sit down and write down what those values are. And the next step is to come in and it's like, okay, realize that, okay, step 1A is realize that this is going to be a process of habitually pointing your life towards those values. Dividing up the time you have each day and pointing it towards the values that you have written out. These are the things I value. This is what I want the future to look like. Okay, how do I point my time each day towards that? Okay, and so this is long term. I'm not talking about get rich quick. I'm not talking about getting rich in less than 10 years. I'm not talking about any of that stuff. I'm talking about working hard over the long term, investing, saving, and truly creating powerful wealth based on unbreakable principles. All right, on to the first one. Small wins create big success. You have to start small. If you're not already wealthy, or if you're not in a very advantageous position, if you haven't won the lottery, you're probably going to start small. A recent study was done that says that less than 50% of Americans have an emergency fund where they could cover $450, a $450 emergency, a single $450 emergency. And if that's you, you can change that starting right now. That reality, this you do not value, I'm sure you probably do not value that reality, then you can change that right now. So, but we have to start small. We have to start small with the first $1,000 in the bank. So we start small by putting a goal of putting $1,000 in the bank. And in order to do this, you're going to have to dig deep. You're going to have to cut a little bit because how we lived till now hasn't worked. So we have to change that if we want a new reality. If we want a new outcome in the future, we have to change that and we have to align that with our values. That's why we understand what we want. We don't like the reality of not being able to afford a $450 emergency if we have one. And now we want to create the reality where we can. So that means we have to create a $1,000 emergency fund, and we do that by digging deep. First and foremost, remember this is not forever, that this is a season and it's temporary. Too many times when we change things in our life, or when we improve, I don't like to use the word change, I like to use the word improve things in our life, we think that it's forever, that the season will never end, that I will never be able to get out of this current condition that I will move into, because I will start, and then what if I fail, and then what if it doesn't work, and then what if it takes longer, and then what if I can't, what if, and we just die for what ifs. So we just kill all of our future on a what if. Now, let's just throw that out the window and start focusing on, all right, I don't like this reality. The reality I want is that in the event that I have a $1,000 emergency or a $450 emergency, I can cover it, no problem. We're good. All right, so what do? That means currently I'm not seeing that I can save money each month. So that means that I need to go do a little more work so that I can create some margin, or I need to cut expenses. That's the only thing that we can do, right? We can only cut expenses, or we can bring more money in. Does that mean I have to deliver pizza? Maybe. I have a friend, he makes $700 per week delivering pizzas. To me, that's crazy. But he makes $700 every single week delivering pizzas. And you can go make a little bit extra money, spend 3 months. Maybe you don't make $700 a week. He spends a lot of time doing that. So maybe you spend your evenings 4 hours a week. 4 hours a day, every evening, delivering pizzas or Ubers or whatever it is. And you go do that and you make an extra few $100 per week. And then over the course of a couple months, you're able to take all that money and put it into your emergency fund. And now we've got emergency fund. Plus we've got a little bit of discipline that we've gained from actually starting to be active in this area of aligning ourselves with our values. So each step builds on the next step, and that builds momentum in our life, and it catapults us to the next level. And that's what's wonderful about wealth building, is that you can start right now, and maybe your efforts feel a little bit small, but soon as you continue, they get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and help you get further up the ladder of wealth building. All right, so the next thing that you can do in helping you as you start on the financial journey, as you start to cut some expenses and you add a little more income, is you can start to master a skill, a very unique skill that only you can do, and that's something you value. So while you're building wealth, you also have to look into what you're doing and where you're working to say, okay, is this the work that I enjoy? Is this the outcome that I really care about? At first, the outcome that you care about is just to save a little money and have an emergency fund. Like, that is the value, and that's the only thing we care about. And all that takes is getting some work so we can get that first emergency fund so that we can move to the next step. But more than that, we need to look at our entire picture and say, okay, I do this work, but it's not necessarily fulfilling, or I actually do this work and it's very fulfilling and I want to do more of it. I want to become better at it. So do I want to build my own business one day? And what skills do I need to master in order to be able to do that? Okay, well, I need to learn how to sell. I need to learn what I can sell. I need to learn how to do accounting and finances. And you start investing in these things because you value them, because you identified that you really value that thing and you value that outcome. And now you want to be able to integrate that into your life. So what do? You spend your time focused on that area. Instead of listening to all the marketing messages and being bombarded by all the billboard signs of life, let yourself be drawn completely in to the things that you value and the impact that you care about, and start working towards making sure that thing is those things are consuming most of your time. That most of the time that you have in every day is invested in the things that you care about, so that you can create the impact and the outcome that you want. I listened to one business coach, and he said, you know what? If your business is under $1 million, nobody in the marketplace knows about you whatsoever. So if that's the case, you need to spend the first 4 hours of every single day marketing yourself. Do that for the first 4 hours of every single day, so that you can get your business up and known in the marketplace for the service or the products that you provide. So that's you. You need to spend the time that you have available to you every single day in alignment with those things that you value, so that you can create the outcomes that you truly love, that you're truly after, that you truly value, that you truly want to be a reality in your life long term. So the next point is that I want to share with you is that money is a tool. It's simply a tool, because once you have a big pile of it sitting in an account, you realize that it's much more of a utilitarian thing to help you reach your next goal, or to create the reality that you're after in your life. Whether that's paying off your house, or paying off your car, or paying off your TV, or building your retirement, or saving for the future. So Daniel Lapin says in the book Thou Shalt Prosper, he says that so money is the reward for great service to humanity. It's a reward. They're like certificates of appreciation with presidents' faces on them. And once you start to pile up a little money, you realize that, oh, actually, money is a very utilitarian thing. That's not the ultimate goal. The ultimate goal is a peaceful, free life, right? It's not just a big, huge pile of money. I mean, that helps, but it doesn't create peace and freedom, because you will soon find out, once you start having a little pile of money, that the target continually moves. And once you have a pile of money, well, it's like, well, I don't want to have less in the future. I want to have more. So that goal continually moves, and you can become stressed out and become a manic, simply because you're like, oh my gosh, the deadline never ends. I thought this amount of money will be, and now I got to it, and now I'm at this amount of money, and now I got to that, and now it just goes further and further. And what do I do? Because this is not peaceful at all. So that's why we start with values, and then we use wealth as a tool to bring out those values and create the impact that we're after. And then we intentionally look at the goal we have for that utilitarian thing called money. So financial success is not just about having money. It's about using the resource that you have to move towards your goals, to move towards the reality that you want in your life, and to create the impact that you ultimately want to be a part of throughout your lifetime. All right, so you do have to learn some level of financial management. Now, the good thing is that math, and money math especially, is only like 8th grade math. You only need an 8th grade level of education in managing money in math, in the area of math, in order to be able to do everything that you need to do to build wealth. That's a pretty low bar, and I think most of us can at least do 8th grade math. So making money is one part, and keeping it growing is another. So once we have a pile of money, now we need to understand what we put the money in, or what we do with the money, in order to grow wealth. And first and foremost, I believe you have to pay off all your debt. Pay off all your debt, because now, remember, 8th grade math here. If I'm not paying interest on my money, then it's kind of the same as getting interest on my money, right? I'm not paying out interest to banks on my money that I get every month in my paycheck, because you're getting a chunk of money every month. And if you don't owe anybody any interest on the money that you get, because you don't have any payments, then it means you get to save all that interest and use it to your benefit. For example, you get to take that piece of your pay, you get to take your paycheck home and take a chunk of that, put it in your investment, maybe your mutual fund, and you get the percentage, instead of taking that money home and spending it all on payments and paying interest on the money that you took home to pay on the payments. That sounds like a bad plan. I want interest coming in, not going out. So as much interest going out that we can eliminate, the better. So we start with the smallest debt, work to the largest one, right? We start with the smallest because we need that momentum. We need that psychological engagement in our mind and we need that connection to our heart and our mind that says, I can do this. I will overcome. And so we start with the smallest one, regardless of the interest rate. And then we work towards the largest one. And once we pay that off, and we actually, that first month, after you have paid off your house and you have no payments and you get paid, like that income comes in from whatever it is, your small business, your work, or whatever, wherever you earn income, and that money hits your bank account, you have a hallelujah freaking moment because you're like, oh my freaking gosh, I'm going to be so rich because I don't have to pay anybody anything. Holy cow. And so you could, like, I can do whatever I want with my own money because I aligned myself with my values and I did it over time and I paid off my debt and now I don't have to pay anybody an interest. Holy freaking cow, this is awesome. And so then you start investing that in a mutual fund, or you start investing that in your child's college savings because you value that, right? Or you start investing in, maybe you have enough money because now you don't owe anybody any payments. Now you can go over and above your Roth IRA because now we're being tax efficient with the money that we have, because now we can invest more than what goes into our Roth IRA each year. And now we're like, oh my gosh, now we can really build some wealth. So it does take some level of education, which you can get that education easily by reading Total Money Makeover or going to Financial Peace University and going through the course to take those, or watching these videos, because I'm going to continue explaining those same principles around money management, investing, and ultimately prospering and becoming wealthy. So once you get to this stage, you have to make sure that you're intentionally taking a look at the finances that you have and making sure that your best guessed outcome for the action that you're taking will produce a higher amount of money over time. And that does take a level of skill, but at this level, you already have built that muscle because you started to align yourself with your values. You started to spend the time each day on the things that you value most, and that creates this profit in your life. Now you have the emergency fund and you paid off your debt, and now you're able to do some investing. So at this stage, we get to look at a little bit more into the numbers and say, okay, now how do I make sure this continues to grow? And the main thing to continue to do at this time is to continue putting aside that money, continue the discipline, not getting distracted, because now you have grown this piece of wealth, this pile of wealth. And often people, when they get to this stage, they get to like, oh, well, I paid off on my debt. These goals that I thought would never become true are accomplished. Now what? And that's the stage where it gets really exciting, where you get to really invest in yourself and in your future. And we'll talk about that in future videos. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're wrapping up this video, but nothing happens until you act. Nothing happens until you take the first step towards financial literacy, towards creating the outcome that you want. In all the books that I've read, over 100 books on wealth, finance, investing, it's very clear that aligning with your values and creating habits that cause profit in your life, getting out of debt and investing, only comes from you and me taking the very first step. We have to act. We have to act now, today. So we start with step one, and that is identifying what you truly want in life. And I think that's more important than any of the others, even in investing, even in percentage rates and in budgeting and anything else, is finding out, what do you value? What do you want? Sit down, write on a piece of paper. What do you want? What is the reality that you want to be true for your life in the future, for this year, 5 years, and look into the future, even 10 years. And if that's hard, it should be hard, because it's the future of your life, and you have to determine what that should be like. Because if no one does that, if you do not do this, no one will do it. And that's a scary thought. I don't want to live a life where nobody thought about the future and that has no insight on what should be the reality and where I should spend most of my time. So guys, start with that step. And as you do that, start learning about managing money. Every right action moves you in the right direction. And if you take the steps, you will make progress. I promise you. You will move the needle. You will move forward. You will make progress. It can be done in this day and age. I've done it. My name is Jason Ellinger. I'm CEO of Tiger Translations. I'm 38 years old, and I built a multi-million-dollar net worth doing this stuff. So in conclusion, guys, I want to continue making videos just like this that are simple and that help people take the action. There are a lot of complicated things in the world of finance and investing, and I can talk about those, and I can talk about those at that level, but what I really want to do is to make it as simple and accessible as possible to everyone, because anyone can become wealthy if you start now, if you start today. So if you found this valuable, please like and subscribe to this video for more videos just like this. And please subscribe and let me know in the comments what area of your life you're working on, what step you're in, and what step you're going to take today. Right now, after this video, take a piece of paper. Some of you just need to take a piece of paper right at the top. What do I want? 1 year, 5 years, 10 years, and then start describing the reality. I want this reality, right? Maybe that's you. So if that's you, take a piece of paper and go do it right now and start working on it. And then we align our time each day with those things. So in the comments below, let me know what one thing is that you're going to do to take that next step today, and let's build an awesome future together.